music, you've been doing this for a very long time, but if this is your first time coming to any Make Music event, can you just, let's identify. No, you need to clap for yourselves. Seriously. That's fantastic. It's great to have you guys here. I hope you've been enjoying, you've been learning. I can assume that you're artists or you're involved in like music creation, producers. You can identify. So artists. Artists now, raise your, show your billboard very well, let's know you. Producers. You need to tell your friends that are producers to be coming for functions like this. Okay. DJs. Oh, sorry. Songwriters, do you write songs? All right, so we're going to get into something interesting today, and I hope this will be useful. I hope you have your notebooks, you know. I'll ask that maybe we can reserve the questions for the end so I can kind of get, because we're running a little late and I don't want to waste anyone's time, so we can ask the questions maybe at the end. So just take note of your questions, you know, and then we can touch on it. So could you change? All right, so let's kind of start off with what music royalties are. So music royalties are compensatory payments received by right holders. So that would be you, songwriters, musicians, composers. I hope we know what we mean by composers. Can someone tell me what that is? Do we have someone else with a mic? Or you can come forward, or just shout it if you have a loud voice. Does anyone know what composers are? There are some people in the front, please. Thank you.
Someone who gives rhythm and melody to written words.
Yeah, so they could also, sometimes songwriters are considered composers as well, but yes, you actually got that right. So a producer is basically a composer. If you put down sound that is used in the music, you are a composer. So recording artists, so the person who puts their voice down on the music, yeah. And then as well as any other respective representative in exchange for the licensed use of their music. So I'm pretty sure even with the panel session that we had,
Of the digital platform. Yeah,
so any music that you can download, be it in a CD form from a digital store like Spotify, I'm pretty sure we use Spotify here, streamings like, say, Apple Music, Boomplay and the rest of them, even ringback tunes, I'm pretty sure you heard that, so you call somebody and you're hearing music on the... This is considered mechanical royalties. So whenever a copy of your song is made, that is considered royalties you get to something called mechanical royalties. So I spoke about, I don't know if anyone was in my 20s, because this isn't my first rodeo with Make Music, but I had a session on, I believe, music licensing with Make Music, and I think 2021, and I talked about, mechanical royalties. I think it was all about publishing. So look at it as interactive platforms. Any platform where people have the opportunity to interact with your music. What I mean by that, they can press play, pause, fast forward, download. That is called interactive. So anytime you think about that, the type of royalty you collect is called a mechanical royalty. Another perfect way to look at it is also you are licensing the music to sell it. Again, the interactive platforms. So let me use this opportunity to also hop into the next one, which is another one you hear about, which is the performance royalties. I'm pretty sure it was touched on in the last panel session, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, it's what the name is, basically, performance. When your music is being performed, typically by somebody else, your old performance royalties. So that is where we talked about P-Man, for instance, co-song, which used to be The Body. I don't even think they're in existence anymore. And then, of course, MCSN, if I'm not mistaken. Typically, what they're supposed to do, for us, at least in Nigeria, as artists, composers, is to collect performance royalties. Places you find that to be live band playing your music. Typically, they should be paying performance royalties. Radio. Oh, poor girl, Lisa's not here. But you get my drift. They're meant to pay you performance royalties because they are using your composition, you're using your music. They're supposed to pay you. Another one will be hotels. You know when you walk into a bank, for instance, GT Bank. Who uses GT Bank here? When you enter that their door and you hear, I believe fact. You know who that is? Who's singing? Asha. That is a perfect example of performance royalties. I'm pretty sure they have some kind of an arrangement. She's probably making bank from that. Those are types of royalties that you should, look out for. In this case, it would be called non-interactive, given that someone or people, general mass, can't. For instance, if someone is performing a live band of your music, people can't just say, oh, fast forward, pause, download. Do you understand? Someone is performing, so you consider that non-interactive platforms. Another way to look at it is you're licensing that music to play it. Another way you can say that, which isn't here, is to perform it. So these are just easy ways to differentiate between at least the known royalties that you probably come across. Mechanical, performance rights, two very different things collected by two very different bodies. We'll get to that in a second. So just to quickly continue, we'll get to the micro sync royalties. Very similar to the other one at the bottom called sync royalties. I think we touched on sync royalties in the last conversation, but your micro sync is when used by creators on social platforms. So Instagram, TikTok, when you're seeing music going viral, that is actually a very good thing. Because for platforms like Instagram, they actually pay out revenue. So that is where that falls into. At TuneCore, we have something called, and I believe, what's his name touched on it, the YouTube rep, something around content ID and, being able to, where you have a content ID for that music, someone else uses it, YouTube picks it up. And typically, the option is either to pull down that music, depending on the instructions that's been given, or, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this before, depending if you're creators on YouTube, where you create content, you use some artist music on the YouTube, and then you put it out, and then you're hit with that, copyrights. And they tell you all the end, especially if you're already making money, all of it is going to this. I know they've tweaked that now. I think now there's the option to split. But that is micro sync. Now, it might annoy you as a content creator on YouTube using someone's music, but consider it from the other angle of the artist who owns the music, or the publisher or the composer or whoever who owns that music. You will feel unfair, and that is how you're supposed to be making something called microsync. At TuneCore, we call it YouTube sound recording. That is one arm to it. So of course, like I mentioned, it's your YouTube, it's your Facebook, it's your TikTok. And then something to note with microsync. For TuneCore, I mentioned there's YouTube sound recording. Typically, that is it will be categorized under mechanical royalties. So because it's sound recording, similar to, sometimes sound recording and mechanical are put together. So sound recording is the artists who put their music down on that song. Typically will be considered sound recorded. So that will include you, the artist who sang on it, plus all the composition, the lyrics, the beats, and all that will be considered sound recorded. So it can generate both mechanical and performance royalties. So now let's go to what people will call the Baba Dudu, so to say. Sync royalties and fees, which is music that is synchronized to any other type of content. What that basically means is, again, what was touched on here, getting your music added to movies. For instance, Rihanna's Wake Me Up. Do you remember where we heard that song? There was another Nigerian artist that was featured on that same movie. Can we remember who that is? Who? Yes, there was another person. Thank you, that's what I was going for. That's a perfect example of sync royalties, where your music is used in movies, a big one. And I'm happy with the conversation that was had today, because there is more of that interest in Nigerian music. So get your hustle on, let me put it that way. So it's not just TV or movies, there's TV ads. It can also be used as, of course, soundtrack is what we just talked about. Radio jingle. I know we've heard some Nigerian music that we love used in, radio advert jingles. I know Nivea did one with, That's How Stars Do, if you remember. Something like that was, I don't know how long it ran for, but I remember hearing something like that. That's an example of sync as well. Sync royalties. And of course, video game. I think this one is probably one of the biggest, in my opinion. Because video games internationally, even Nigeria, but internationally is big. So, Just to quickly touch on like the music distribution, publishing admin. So I think we all know what music distribution is, publishing. Two different businesses revolving around two entirely different copyrights that generate entirely different royalty streams. I hope this is understood in regards to the slides we just touched on. Music distribution is a business of collecting royalties for sound recordings, which is the point I made. So recording of songs, and then music publishing is the business of collecting royalties for composition, songwriting. So music publishing typically is, if you wrote a song and you didn't sing it, you're owed royalties. It's very different. So you can be, I don't know if you've seen movies or you've heard it where there's this dispute about owning masters and XY and this. This is typically what that is. So I don't know, you might hear it more maybe like the American music industry, things like that, where, and it's something you might experience maybe if you're with a label or you have a management and maybe they own the composition. And then they tell you, okay, you know, you're under a label, come and sing on it. You might only just be getting sound recording royalties, but you will not be getting compositions. Very important to understand that. So just because you sang, they gave you, say for instance, Thames writes a song. If she didn't sell and you didn't have the arrangement that, okay, she's selling it to you, she's not getting anything else, she probably owns some rights to that as the composer. If there was a producer involved and he didn't say, okay, pay me this, have everything, we sign a dotted line, close deal. And they said, no, there's something recurring, they owe their old royalties. So it's something to take note of. It's a different case if you are both a producer, songwriter, and the singer, then everything is your own, so you don't need to worry about anything here. So something to note. So music publishing administration refers to the business of collecting money for the music that you write or that you compose in the case of like a producer. So who gets paid for licensed use of sound recordings? Like we mentioned, performers, artists, and the money is usually collected by a record label or distributor, dependent. So if you're signed to a record label, typically they'll be the ones to collect that. And then who gets paid for licensed use of musical compositions? Songwriters, composers, like we've mentioned, that money typically or is usually collected by a publishing administrator. Those are two different entities. With TuneCore, we have both. We have the distribution arm, we have the publishing arm. Can you, and I'll ask this as a question, can you, as a producer, an artist, be a self-publishing artist? Can you publish music for yourself? Does anybody have an answer to that? Yes? There's no mic. How can you do it on your own? Exactly. Yeah, so you could use platforms, you can go directly to the BMIs, ASCAPs, and things like that. It could be hectic because it's I think over 100 and so of them, these bodies worldwide. So people don't typically self-publish. So it's either they do it through, say they're with a record label, the record label, depending, may have an arm for publishing, as we know. Sony has one, you know, things like that, that will take care of publishing for you. So they will publish, so they're acting as your publishing admin. TuneCore has, like I mentioned, the publishing admin, where basically, and I want to make something distinct here. I saw this recently, and I think it was a good illustration, where they were comparing what a publisher is and publishing admin. And they said, typically, a publisher would own rights to your music. Publishing admin would do the job for a commission. That is something to keep in mind as well. You know, I know a lot of people have the desires to be with a record label, but this is the type of information you should know. There's nothing wrong with it, but go in there with some information and know your stuff as well, because you do something like that, and then you're now shouting, what's happening here? Why do you own rights to XYZ? But it's the truth, because you don't have the information. So there's a publisher who a lot of the times, especially if it's publishers might be under a label, they will probably have a stake, a huge one at that, in whatever they collect. A publishing admin typically would do it for a commission. So have a clear understanding. So quickly, just to introduce, if you've never heard about TuneCore digital distribution collects money derived from streaming and downloads on specific services By specific services, it is because we're DIY, you get to choose what DSPs you want to put your music on. You don't have to put it. We distribute to over 150 stores worldwide, including local ones like Boomplay, and of course your YouTubes that you know. But you can choose to just distribute to a Boomplay and a YouTube and call it a day. You have the choice to say, oh, for future partners, DSPs you bring in, put my music there without you even knowing who it is. It could be a very big DSP in India, like, what's it called? Ganmi or Gahami. I can't remember what it's called. Agzagama? I can't remember, yeah. Something like that. You have the option to say, oh, put my music on there and stuff. So, on specific services to which TuneCore distributes for sound recording, if you remember the points we made about different royalties and how it's collected, digital music distribution collects sound recording. So anywhere where people interact with your music. Remember when we talked about interactive and non-interactive? That is what distribution would do. This money is only deposited, of course, into your TuneCore accounts that distributed the music. So TuneCore Publishing and Main collects the portion of money and owed to the songwriter every time that composition is sold. Be it somebody did a cover of that music. You that sang on the song, but you did not write, you did not put the beats together, would not be owed nothing. So far as you did not write that song, the only time you'll be owed something is, let's say, okay, they use that particular sound recording, say, for an ad. Which is what? Sync. Thank you. Who said that? Perfect. Sync licensing. But if someone else says, oh, I want to do a cover of this song, you as a person who is the, let's call it the original, the 1.1, version 1, you're not owed anything. So you see the difference. Oh, I think it was Uncle Lisa that was saying various revenue streams. That is, you can imagine what that can do. Say, I think I would advise a lot of artists, if you can write your own music, that's amazing. If you can write for others, that's even better. There are people in the background. You don't see them perform nowhere. Someone, I'll give you an American example. Sia, we know Sia, right? There's always hiding. Perfect example. Candy Boris, who used to be in the group Escape. You're my little sick. That's another example. Carrie Wilson, as an now perfect. Thames, you see what Thames is? He's just scattering everywhere now. Perfect example. Don't ask me how to get started, though. So, this money is deposited into each songwriter's TuneCore account according to the songwriter split. Can we change slides? So now this segues into split sheets. Please, without looking at the screen, has anybody worked with a split sheet, and can you kind of tell us what it is and your experience using it? Anyone? Just make it very quick. Brief.
I've not really worked with a split sheet, right? But I have an idea on how it works. So it's a particular document that contains the percentage, the artist, the producer, the record label, the publisher, composer collects whenever a song makes a particular revenue.
In a nutshell. So a split sheet is an agreement executed by contributors to a song detailing the personal information of the contributors and stating their individual ownership percentage. Remember when we talked about writer, person that puts together the sound, which is a producer, and maybe in this case we can throw in the sound records in version 1, maybe. It is a document primarily aimed at specifying each producer, songwriter, and performer's percentage stake in the song. So it tells you that, in terms of who is getting what, is very weighted. It usually includes the song title, like you said, collaborator's name, phone numbers, emails, just personal details, specific dates, and contributions to the song. So some things to also keep in mind. I wanted to separate them this way. Particularly, it is important in determining who owns what and who gets what. Has any of you ever had issues? Maybe you worked with a producer, worked with an IC, and then you're fighting over you're already doing like this. You want to tell us what happened? Do you want to share? Or you just want to share and then we can empathize with you? Okay, hello, sorry. So, again, it tells who's getting what. Typically, it's, like I said, people who wrote the song or who, like the producer who maybe put the beat together if it wasn't sold and said, oh, okay, you've paid me, whatever. But he says he wants recurring payments. A lot of the time, they will get the chunk of this. Maybe if there is a label involved, we kind of know how that would go. Prevents any subsequent disputes since it serves as some form of evidence of a copyright ownership. Take this with a particular grain of salt, let me put it that way. Because the thing with split sheet is it shouldn't be the only document. Yes, it should not, because it is subject to change, let's put it that way. Figures can change, allocations can change, so it is not set in stone. Hence the next point. The rules to dividing the ownership percentages are not set in stone. So it cannot be the only document, especially if you're working with other collaborators. Makes calculations and disbursement of royalties easier. More like a quick one sheet to see what has finally been agreed. Ensure everyone involved in the creative process is properly credited and paid for the work they contributed. And finally, the total amount of ownership percentages should not exceed 100%. What does that mean? You can't come and say, oh, we're splitting this 120%. We're splitting it 1,000%. No, 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 no. You allocate for the number of people. Say producer is getting 50%, you, the person, I don't know, writer is getting 13%, the other person is getting 30%. All that sum together is what? 100. It must all come down to 100%. You cannot say 101%. No, total must always be 100%. So this now segments to another agreement you should probably prioritize, and then your split sheet can kind of be like a one-pager to say, okay, everybody has agreed, this is what is being allocated percentage-wise. So which is collaboration agreements. It could be named something else, but this kind of sums it up. So unlike a split sheet, which largely focuses on specifying the ownership percentages of the collaborations in a song, the collaboration agreement is a more comprehensive, I wish I underlined that word, because as we go, you understand why, between the collaborators in a song and expressly highlights the terms as to copyright ownership, licenses, duration of collaboration, because someone can say, okay, pay me remunerations for this or pay me royalties for this song for the next 5 years, 10 years. Example could maybe be a label, a producer you work with, anyone. Exploitations and administrative rights relating to a song, cost of production of sound recording, royalties, ownership, control of masters, which is typically the one you put your voice down on, and the method of dispute resolution among collaborators. The agreement stipulates the rights and obligations of the collaborators pertaining to the song. I think we've talked, and I don't think I mentioned it, but you as the person who put your voice down, version 1, let me call you that. You did not write on the song, you didn't put the beat together. There's certain rights you're probably not gonna have over the song. So something like, let's say, dependent, with sync, if they're using your voice, then yes, you play it, you could end something. But if they use a cover of the song you sang, you have no business with it, with the royalties whatsoever. Do you understand? Do you have a question? Okay, yeah, you're looking confused. Okay. I don't know if that made sense. Did you understand that? So say he's there sang a song on producer 1 and the songwriter 2. And Auntie here does a cover. And then millionaire here that is working for a big TV streaming show, has a movie he's making, has her cover and says he wants it in this movie. It's you that is the version 1, you have no business with it. But they do. Hence why a split sheet is not enough. You need to make certain things very clear. Moral of the story, try and write your own songs. Joking. Cool. It states the terms relating to the various ways the song can be exploited, which is basically the point. So they can also, of course, say, oh, You know, you version 1 that sang on the song, yeah, if there's opportunities, you obviously get it right. They can still cut you off if they choose to, you know, because the person who typically has more of the power or the stake or copyrights basically is typically the producer and the songwriter, the person who owns the lyrics. So they can agree, oh, okay, no, you know, we'll just make sure that, we, you know, if we push this out here, say for sync or for whatever, you make sure you know, you cover, it's like this is more of an umbrella cover of what happens to this piece of work, you know? So that's why this is important. You don't have to call it collaboration agreement, but you need something like this. A split sheet is not just enough. Stipulates how each co-owner should be remunerated in the event one co-owner or their publisher licenses the work. I don't know if this is making sense as I'm reading this. Yeah. Or it restricts some co-owners. An example I just gave with version 1 and anti-ABC. From licensing the work at all, or provides conditions upon which they can license that work. So it's very important. Do you understand? You don't just hold on to a split sheet. Yeah, I have a split sheet, but I think the split sheet should maybe be a summary of, okay, fine, we've agreed this is how it's going to be split. This is what that is. Just a one-pager. That's really what I think a split sheet is. So keep that in mind. So when to sign a split sheet and collaboration agreement? When do you think is the best time to do that? Is it before the music is made? Is it during when the music is being made? Is it after the music is made? When do you think is ideal? Save before. Okay, so what if you said before? No. We're talking both docs now. Let's not confuse ourselves. Both docs together. So before, after, and if you say anything, come and take mic and explain yourself. Okay.
I believe it should be signed after, because in the process of making the music, you never can tell. We are in a studio vibing. I could come up with the composition. I could come up with the melody.
I love your
put words.
Me and you are like, let's say you thief am from my brain. I agree. So here is the thing. You can do it before. You can do it after. Humble opinion, what Uncle said. Because yes, you can do it before. So here's the thing. You can do it before. And like he said, trust us also, creative people, you get extra excited. You end up maybe doing more. Something could happen with the team members involved. One person is slacking that is supposed to take 50%. You that is supposed to take 5%. You are doing 50% work. And then beef starts. Do you get the drift? Humble advice and opinion. Yeah, maybe do it, like he said. After, perhaps. Again, it's dependent on you. Does anybody have something? Okay. Please, where's the mic?
Yeah, hello. So I think it's a bit confusing or shady right now because during the process of creating, I think there's something needs to be signed before the work starts. Because, you know...
I hear you, but you're dealing with Nigerians here. That's
true,
another thing to keep in mind.
but then, okay, now, let's put it this scenario now. And this artist and this producers are supposed to make a track together and finally, in a way, it doesn't just go as planned. And then, they took him off the song, and the song is made, and then he's hearing this same melody he created. Let's say this issue with Asha and, what's his name now? Was it Tempo? Let's just use that as an example. Yeah, it happened. So, you know, something should be signed, like maybe a non-disclosure agreement or something like, you understand?
Listen, at the end of the day, this was let's say our. Yeah. You're right as well. He's 100% right.
Something should be signed. That's what I feel.
It happens.
Something before the work
starts. At the end of the day, we know how it is here. So it can happen. You can get your love involved, make sure something is signed prior. Hence why it says here, although there is no hard or fast. I'm sorry?
So, like, I was just having a conversation and saying that it can happen before and also during, because there's always that clear understanding that if we are saying that we're putting something in mind and putting something to work, yeah, we need to know our own responsibilities. Yeah. That's it.
Guess what? Everybody's right. remember something we said in the beginning. It's not set in. It's not set in stone. Sorry?
Now that particular song, like if you check on Spotify, it doesn't show. You can't access it. That particular song till now. I've forgotten the name. The song with I think is Ashan, who was produced by Tempo. They've not resolved the issue till now. You can't access it on Spotify. Yeah.
So you say playing now. But he has a point. He has a point. You have a point. Again, we remember something. It's still not set in stone. It's split shit. So, there's no hard and fast rule for when to sign your split sheet and, of course, the collaboration agreement. It is advisable that collaborators in a song execute these agreements early, to your point, in the creative process of making the song, or immediately after. Again, you know the people you're working with. If you have a lawyer, take the advice. Yeah. Questions were meant to be after. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for this. So, I run a music business and I have like 2 artists. So there's this conversation that comes in that they say, my guy wants to make a song with me, right? Then I'm always like, hey, redirect them to the manager, let it be, and do like professional, like follow the due process. But now the question is, most times, right, when you get an artist to make a song with your own artist, they don't follow the due process. Like, they just vibe, and the song is being made before the contract or the split is being signed. But at times, also, there are some people that insist that you are to sign the contract. So what are you supposed to do in this shoe? Are you supposed to make sure they sign before, or are you supposed to allow them vibe, and after vibing there?
Listen, I'll take this one out of music and just take it straight to how do you want to be perceived in the industry, irrespective of what stage you're at. Would you rather be known as that person who, I can tell him, say, Agaga, I beg, chill, we'll go do this thing later, and you fumble, or you set your standards and say, no, this is how I work. If you're not serious, please move. Well, respectfully, of course. Sorry, I had to step out because it seems more of a moral issue. Hope that helped. Why are you laughing? But it's the truth. So this is more of you set how you want to work and how you want to be perceived. All the people in the industry that are respected, if not feared, do you think they are like this? So you ask yourself, which one do you want to be? And where do you see yourself in the future? So sorry, I had to step out and so just something to keep in mind.
Yes, sorry. So as to the question about when agreements or split sheets should be signed, I believe it's not really about whether it should be signed before or after the song is made. I feel like it should be a question of signing the agreements before the song is released to the public and uploaded on.
So that is, I believe, the next point. Irrespective of these 2 recommended options, it's essential to negotiate this agreement before the song is published and begins to generate royalties. See all this is just argument. We can stay here and be arguing this thing back and forth, but this is your royalties management, chapter 1, verse 10, basically. Irrespective of what you want to do, whether you want to do it after because we are vibing in the studio, or you want to do it before because maybe you've been bumped in the past. Shekeli, it's gist. At the end of the day, this is the cocoa right here. Before it goes anywhere, this needs to be put in place. I hope I hope it's interesting. I see some people sweating. It's not that deep. You'll be all right. So once these agreements are completed and signed, not a very big one, copies. You see how I'm underlining these things? Underline it like that in your notes too, because this could save you a whole world of problem. You see the story he just told now is not new. I'm sure we've heard it, and it can cause big problem for you. We can hold, and it's painful. Let's say music that's already out and is making money, and then problem now starts, and the music has to be taken down. That's one of the most painful things ever. So once these agreements are completed and signed, copies should be shared among the collaborators for record purposes. Could you move to the next slide? So, I think I moved to the slide too quickly. But You might want to ask yourself, okay, so what does this mean in terms of splits and splitting these royalties? Do you do it manually? I don't know, has anyone ever done it manually where you're the one who receives the bulk of the royalties and then you now say, my guy Alpha, money don't drop, send me account details. Network, you're now shouting, guy, where my money? Say, you know GT Bank. GT Bank is not a sponsor. Okay. How do you, I don't know if you've experienced it or you've heard, you being in the industry, what has that been like? Do you do it manually? So basically, this is what is meant to help you with your business. We know TuneCore is very DIY, do-it-yourself kind of a thing. And this is something that has come up quite a bit. There are other distributors who did it before us, but I think the message here is you don't need to do it manually. When I say do it manually, I mean, like the analogy I just gave now of you sending the money to people, that can just cause problems. So you need to automate this process. This does not take away from you having a split sheet, and most importantly, having a collaboration agreement. Can we move to the next slide? So you're going to ensure that you still have the split sheet in place and ensure that you still have your collaboration agreement in place. If you're a TuneCore artist or you want to get started, it's pretty simple. So let me just walk through a few things about TuneCore splits. So you can only create splits if you're signed up to the paid unlimited plan. I don't know, how many people use TuneCore? You've heard of TuneCore, you've heard of unlimited plan. Who uses TuneCore here? Who's heard about? You heard about TuneCore Unlimited, right? Okay, good. So this is basically what it is. These are the new plans. We used to operate a pay per release. So what that means is, each time you release music, we charge you. Last year, June, we launched TuneCore Unlimited. These are the plans. You have the free artist plans. This allows you to distribute your music to all social platforms, including YouTube, except the DSPs. So it's good if, let's say you're doing music as a hobbyist, or you're not sure about whether you really want to put your music on platforms just yet, but you want to put it out there and still generate revenue. We've talked about being able to make money off of social media. That's your new artist plan. Rising artist plan is a more affordable plan, gives you access to all 150 stores. You're able to get your music to all those stores, including the social platforms, but at a cheaper price. Of course, has some other perks that are slightly less than the other ones. Then, of course, you have the breakout artists. This gets you, I believe, 24 hours response rate for support and things like that. And then the professional plan, which is like ideal for if you manage multiple artists, for instance. This is a good one. So maybe you're a mini label, an indie label of your own, something like you need a distributor. This will be perfect for you. Gives you 24 hours to, support. And then you're also able to, we don't call it pitch because we don't necessarily pitch, but with the professional plan, you have access to submit releases that you know the stores will be interested in through what we call the store awareness program as well. So it's your own way of pitching to the stores and letting them know about releases. So you can create a split on a release once you've set it in for distribution. So keep in mind, you can sign up to TuneCore Splits, which is free if you're using TuneCore already. You don't need to pay anything else. So you have to be on one of the new plans. You can't do it on the pay-per release. So once you're on any of these, you can distribute. You can use TuneCore Splits feature, especially if you have artists featured. Splits will not be applied retroactively to revenues already posted. I think that kind of already makes sense if you get what I mean. So if you already had money from music being generated, you can't apply it because it's already been out there. Yeah. However, but you can apply a new split to previously existing release. So splits are applied at the track level, so you can use a different split for each track on an album. So what that means is, you know how you release an album and you featured multiple people or you have multiple composers? That happens. You can work with multiple producers and multiple songwriters. It allows you to apply splits per track. So this split goes to uncle here, auntie here, and uncle there. Track 2 goes to 1, 2. Do you understand my drift? So it allows you to do that. You don't need to do anything manually. Just imagine as you release an album and you have 20 collaborators. You just be doing transfer to how many accounts? It's crazy. So this just automates it for you. You can save a split and apply it to other tracks, which is very handy. You don't have to create the same thing over and over again. And splits will apply to revenue from all stores except the YouTube Content ID, Facebook, Instagram, Reels, and Tidal Direct Artist Payment. Don't ask me why, but it's just for the DSP part. So let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So how do I create a split? Pretty simple. If you already have an account, all you just have to do is, and something to note, I don't think I mentioned it previously. Even if you as a TuneCore artist, you're with TuneCore, but you have a collaborator that doesn't have a TuneCore account, you can invite them as a split collaborator. That's what we call it. So what they would have to do, or they don't need to subscribe to a pay plan, they can just join the new artist, the free new artist plan. Then I think they have to pay a fee of $7.99 to come in as a collaborator, which is the cheapest among all. And I think we'll get to that. I have a slide on that. So that is possible. So you don't have to pay. You can just sign up to the new artist plan, and then that's it. So how do you create a split? You create a split on a release once you fully uploaded it for distribution, including the checkout process. So it's simple. Once you put the song out there, you have it distributed, straightforward. You log into your TuneCore dashboard, go to your discography. I think the TuneCore guys will understand, TuneCore artists here will understand what we're talking about here. Locate the release you want to add a split to, and then click royalty, split royalties. And that's basically it. If you don't see either of these options, it means the release hasn't been distributed yet. You can only add a split to a distributed release. So this is basically what the discography looks like on your dashboard. All you just have to do, this song is live as you see it now, for instance. This is what it will look like. All you have to do is click on split royalties. And if you have to invite a collaborator, you'll be able to do it from there. Can we move it to the next slide? So what do I need to create a split? You need your collaborators' email addresses. Remember that split sheets we talked about? This is where it will come in handy, because that's where you get all the information you need here. So you need your collaborators. And what's interesting, this kind of somewhat looks like a split sheet, like a portion of a split sheet if you've ever seen one. It's literally just details of collaborators, their email addresses, and the percentages they get. So you need your collaborators' email address, the physical percentages / split sheet agreements you want to use for each split. Here's an example of what that looks like. So you have like collaborators' emails, and then this is kind of how it's broken down. If you look closely, you see that will sum up to 100%. In the above split sheet agreements, you have the collaborators' email addresses, and the total splits adds up to 100%. We talked about this before. You cannot say 101%, you can't do that. It has to be 100%. So this would be an acceptable split to create. So let's go to the next one. Next slide, please. All right. So just a quick comparison of some names you may know here. I'm sure we've heard of some of these names before, I think. So of course, some don't or one doesn't. We can see the price comparison, TuneCore being one of actually the cheapest if you look at it. The price per collaborator, $7.99 for TuneCore, $10, and United Matters does a 10%. Commission, we don't charge a commission on your splits whatsoever. Splits is free for existing TuneCore users. We don't charge a commission on it. We don't charge you for it. So it's just a new feature accessible to you. And United Matters charges a 10% commission. And then splits acceptance window, unlimited time frame, unlimited time frame for DistroKid, and a 30-day window. So you can spend some time here if you like. All right, can we go to the next slide? So just a quick introduction, because I'm realizing I don't think I did one. So I know some of you already know what TuneCore is. TuneCore is a music distribution company that also offers publishing admin. And also now we have a new unlimited prices where you can find a price that works for you. And of course, we've launched splits. So now you can work with artists, composers, and just make it easy to send money around. Been around for 15 years. We've been reliable 15 years and counting. We don't operate with a middleman, which is something I think a lot of people don't realize. We go to local distributors or music aggregators and some international ones. One distributor, I don't want to call their name, that you know very well. Unfortunately, they work with a middleman. They don't distribute directly. So what I mean by middleman is we distribute directly to the stores. and we collect directly from the stores on your behalf. We don't do 100%. We don't do commission for music distribution. So anything you earn from the stores is what's coming straight into your TuneCore account. However, when you have a middleman, I don't know if you understand what that means. It's basically store, middleman, you. So royalties, DSP takes, middleman takes, you. What does that say to you? You're going to be earning less than what you could be earning. So that's something to keep in mind. Affordable price plans, like I've already pointed out before, with flexible transparency, you have an analytics dashboard that gives you visibility into what you're earning from the stores, when you're earning it, what amount it is, where your fans are listening to your music from. These are informations that you can see. Now I'm realizing I should have had a screenshot of that for you, but you can access it once you sign up. You get 100% and 100% of your revenue. We don't take any commission. This is separate from the new artist plan. We don't charge you for the new artist plan. It's commission-based. So just keep that in mind. But for all the other 3 plans and the paper release, we don't take any commissions or anything from it. Upstream opportunities to Believe. Believe is TuneCore's parent company. We were acquired by them in 2015. And what this means is, I know many of us like advance, to receive an advance, right? With your career, advance, marketing advance, marketing promotional advance, music video production advance, music creation advances. They are the ones that's able to do something like that. So with TuneCore, because we're very DIY distribution, we have a huge catalog. We don't operate like a label. This is where our parent company comes in. There's that opportunity to get, to work with them and then help advance your career. So of course, localization, we're in over like 20 countries now. TuneCore is a US company. We're in the US, we're setting up shop more in SA with a bigger team. We're in Italy, we're everywhere in the world. So that can also create opportunities for you to find and interact with artists. We have so many social media channels. You can collab with international artists. All you have to do is maybe go to TuneCore Italy and interact with the community there. Of course, education and upskill opportunities. And of course, the additional services, like I mentioned, splits, YouTube sound recording, which is the YTSR, publishing, and of course, sync. So could we change? Thank you. So I'd mentioned direct DSP relationship. So these are some of the guys. I previously mentioned that we distribute to over 150 stores worldwide, and we keep adding more and more partners. So, I'm sorry. Yeah. So of course, like I mentioned, we give about 100% of artist revenue. TuneCore distributes to over 150 stores, and you can have a better link, a list of all the artists, all the DSPs that we distribute to as well. So let's go to the, I think, second to the last slide, and then we'll call it. So it's pretty simple of how you can start distributing with TuneCore, prepare your releases for upload, ready your releases, and all the information required. Create an account on TuneCore if you haven't already. There are plans for you that you can choose from. Put in your name, emails, fill out the necessary information, and of course choose the plan, upload your releases, and then make the payments that you need. Your releases will be up on over 150 plus stores in no time. So thank you. Can you go to the last slide? So it was only thoughtful that we offer a discount for those who may be interested in joining TuneCore on our and only our breakout and professional plan. That gives you a 50% off. Use the code MML2023. You sign up to TuneCore, you get access to using splits, being able to split royalties with people who collaborated on the music with you. So you take your screenshots. I will see and make music. Is it possible to send this to folks? Is it? Okay. But take a, just in case too, network. Just take a screenshot as well. And just get started with this. So you can start with the breakout professional, apply that code, or start with the rising artist, or start with the new artist plan. You sign up to TuneCore if you have people you need to collaborate with that are not TuneCore artists. Through your dashboard, when you select split, you can invite them. All you have to do is put their email, send the invites, get them to accept it, and they can use this new artist plan to start receiving their own share. I don't know if this was good. I know we have questions. Do we still have questions? All right. So I don't know How many questions we can take? Oh, wow, 3 o'clock. That's impressive. Cool. All right, so let's take the questions. I don't know if let me come down because I'm not above anybody here and interact with the crowd.
All right. So, my name is Mide. My question is kind of simple. Because I noticed a lot of the plans here are listed in dollars. So, and payment is kind of issue in Nigeria right now. And I don't know if there's like plans to make payment simplified because it's a part of the things that make people.
Listen, since I've been with the company, that has been my mission.
Yeah, all right.
So let's just say stay tuned while we work
All
on
right, no
it.
problem.
It's
That's
you
just
see
my
this thing you said now?
Yeah.
It's been a fight I've been fighting for a very long. You have no idea.
All right,
So
thank you
yes,
very much.
I hear you.
All right. My name is Too White, Bedu Poet. While I was doing some research, I got to the point where there's this thing I got that if you have if you're distributing, okay, if you have your songs on AudioMark, that you can get paid with TuneCore. There's a way you can link them and you can get paid. I want you to.
You guys say you get insider for AudioMark, okay? I can't speak on that just yet. But like I told Oga, patience is a virtue. Yeah, just hold on. But yes, there's something like that brewing, which I think would be a game changer, to be sincere. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you said something about publishing. You said the publisher takes a commission, but the publishing administration don't take the commission.
So a publisher, a lot of the time, would own
a portion.
Yes,
Yeah.
could own a portion,
Yeah.
if not the whole thing,
Yes.
sometimes.
So do the publishing administration do what the publishers do?
So they basically do the same thing. The only difference that they, how do I put it? Like I said before, they would do it for a commission. So they can help you with sync. They can help pitch your music. You know, typically they may work for many people. Like in the case of TuneCore, same with the distribution. They may have a lot of people who have subscribed to the publishing arm of the business. You know, but they can actively do the same thing a publisher, which could just be you. You could be your own. You could be self-publishing, or maybe you're with a label and they are doing it for you. But typically, when you're with a label, that means that track belongs to the label. If you think about it, you know.
If I subscribe to.
Yeah, so if you subscribe, you get access. Do you understand? You can get the publishing, the micro sync, all those things. So, for instance, was it a separate conversation or was it something? No. I think it was the YouTube that was talking about the whole whitelisting thing. That is something a publishing administrator can do for you as well. Yeah, so they basically kind of like do the same thing. All right.
Hi. On splits, does TuneCore review split sheets or is it up to whoever is?
Nope. We see.
So
Why?
it's up to whoever is administrating
We're not
the
involved.
back end to do
Our own
the
is
right
to divide the money and give it to everybody, you know. So
So-
if you have any problem with your split sheets or your collaborator, that is between you and your collaborators. We don't. So we are like, consider us just the tech to take away the manual work of allocating, do you understand, paying out the money. That is really what we're doing for you. But anything legal, yeah, your own. That's how it works. So no, we can be, if you think about it, we didn't have anything to do with the creation. So that is something between you and, what is it called? No, so if you feel something is going, that's why I said that page, that Bible verse, or that split verse that I told everyone to mark, that's why you need to have your own copy. Do you understand, of what was signed? So if there's a problem, you can also raise, do you understand, like a dispute issue or a copyright issue with TuneCore. The first thing we'll probably do is take down. That's probably the thing we'll first of all do. We'll take it down until the issue is resolved. But typically a lot of any kind of problem with stuff, it's the person who is initiating it that the other collaborators have to, approach. But if it's now not getting resolved, then you may not have to take it, and you have it, especially if you're on the collaboration agreement and on the split sheets, and you have those documents to prove it, and maybe you also have a legal team, you can file a copyright complaint. Why not? Look into it. But of course, you have to come to the person who initiated it to try to resolve, which is typically what people would do. You approach who you did business with. If they are proving stubborn, then you now go the other route. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
Okay. Good
Please, I
afternoon.
have a question.
Oh, do you have a question?
Someone is talking.
Okay.
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 Who is speaking?
I'm the
you,
one.
right?
Look at her.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
I can see her. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I'm
I'll
here.
give you the mic when I'm sure. Someone is saying I'm here.
Yeah, behind
I'm
you,
hearing,
behind
I'm
you.
here, I'm here. I'm confused. Okay.
Yes.
So let
Okay.
let me just quickly take it. Okay.
I've seen your face before. Yeah, very, and you're wearing, that's
Okay, thank you very much for the extensive enlightenment on how people can easily distribute their works. Because I know that that's been quite a number of challenges even for the independent artists. But I just observed that in the conversations, the music identifiers have been silent in terms of the ISNI, the ISRC, the ISWC they've been silent. They've not been really mentioned about it in terms of people getting those identifier for their works. Cite an example. Sonny and what's her name again? For World Cup and singing this very popular song, relatively unknown in Cameroon. Can you remind me? There was a popular World Cup song that originated from Cameroon, this 60s, yes. But she said it was a moment of inspiration that the song came up. Yeah. And they later found out, yes, it wasn't. It was. So I'm just saying that in all of these, people taking their works out, it's important that people have these music identifiers for their works. For their sound, yes, UPC, that's the barcode.
So that is part of doing the distribution process that is also assigned to you once the music is released. Because you're right, it's like, I remember talking about this, I think the Access conference in Tanzania. They are like the ID cards
for your works, for your creative work.
For your works, your releases, your music.
Yes.
So it's very important you're getting it right. I think
I think maybe you might need to just talk a little bit about it because of
in the sense of
well, maybe might not have applied to
I'll talk about it briefly because I think we're
yes,
okay.
because
So
it's
I think
very
one thing I
important.
want to touch on regarding that is the situations where you want to take your release down from somewhere and tweak it and then think you re-upload it. No. So if you tweak, let's say you take down a release and then you want to, I don't know, do something to it. I don't know what the case may be, change album cover, change something in it. You have to have a new identifiers to that release. Because if the old one, say, is still there and you put a new one, guess what? There's going to be this, thank you, there's going to be like should I say like a clash or conflict with the releases as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So I like to describe it as like let's see, I'll keep using that passport ID card for your releases. Avoid tampering. Do you understand? With it, because that's what identifies your music on the various stores, especially through the distribution, the distributor or whatever that you use to get your music out there. And if a release is coming down, if it's not going back as it was, you have to just consider it a new release, so to say, if you get my drifts. So something to note there. Someone had a question here, right? So it was you, he was after him.
Yes. My question is that I have two questions.
Yeah.
First one goes that,
Go ahead.
The first one is that the split of a thing you're saying, what if you have a payment document or like you pay the producer and you have the payment documents, and the second one is that this your TuneCore. What if you have another TuneCore? What if you have another distribution company already? Can you link both
So
of
does the
them?
distributor, your current distributor, do they do splits? Do they have splits?
Yes.
You have the options to stick with them. If you like them, stick with them. As much as I'm selling markets here, doesn't mean if you have something you like,
No, I'm
not
just
to. But, there is this option, that at least I've taken the time to explain how it works. So if they have that and you're happy with it, then, go and learn more about it and try it out. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, it's always about your experiences with platforms like these. Yeah, if it works perfectly for you, TuneCore works for you, yeah, you stick with us. If it's not working, because I've had conversations even here today of someone that kept saying, I love TuneCore. Where is he? Is he here? I love TuneCore. He's used several platforms and he feels this is what works for him. So again, try out that. We've seen versus, we've done a versus here to see how everything, you figure out the one that works for you and use it. TuneCore is it. And you've never used TuneCore, you can always, I'm giving you a discount, you can start your journey or start with something cheaper. Yeah. Sorry, it's him. I don't know how many more questions I can take. 1, 2, okay. 1, 2, 1. Yeah, I know they have something else, so it has to be 1. Tumbo. Okay. Sorry, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents. My name is Banji. First off, I'd like to thank TuneCore for all the...
And he's repping, see him wearing shirts from...
I don't work with TuneCore, actually. So, TuneCore has been taking off a lot of steps in educating artists on the business of music in Africa through several partnerships, boot camps, and all of that. Yeah. So, one of the identified challenges of TuneCore regarding digital music streaming, particularly within the shores of the continent, is infrastructure. There's an infrastructural gap. So what is TuneCore doing to address that? Secondly, how big must an artist get before you can tap into the upstream opportunities that the parent company makes available? Thank you.
Yeah, so when you say infrastructure, you're referring to like infrastructural issues in Africa, right? Yeah, so this is something, it's interesting because I remember when I was in Sierra Leone last year in Tanzania, this was something that was also very apparent, So someone said something about that payment issue, Naira, who mentioned that? That is like a very good example of something that we're looking into. It's not easy, especially for a company that's from a different country, very developed, coming here, there's a lot of steps. It's not something straightforward. So that's like a good example of something that we're also, looking into. We're trying to see what we can do. For me, that payment thing, let me rephrase that from payment thing to more of a localized price thing I'm looking at for this region. Let me rephrase that. So it's something we're very much aware, hence why, they have the various heads of TuneCore everywhere. This is our job to make the company understand. This is how things are. It's an emerging market, similar to LATAM, that experiences, Latin America, that's what I mean by LATAM. Latin America, with the Argentinians and the rest of them, it's similar to what's, maybe slightly not the same, but it's quite similar, at least, my colleague is over there, so we interact. It's similar, these are like your emerging markets. So it's something we're aware of and we're trying to do our best and we're fighting. What was the second question? Yeah, so in this region for Believe, you don't need to be very big, like a Burna Boy big, no. But you need to be showing your what investing in, let me put it that way. Typically to the normal label situation, there needs to be that potential there. It could be your social media. It could be that you're earning a little something from streams. It could be you're releasing music consistently, you're showing up. That is enough. I know typically, I don't want to call figures here, but it's a lot of the times you don't need to have too much in terms of lifetime earnings from, distributing to TuneCore for you to be considered. And you get into a conversation with, the parent company. So something to keep in mind. Last question. Oh, yeah.
I go by the name OMS. My question goes this way. If you have other distribution country you do business with, and that is, is the top on the world, and then you still need to distribute your music with this company. If you have other distribution company that you have already distribute your music with, so did you still need to distribute your music here?
So some people, I think this is from my own experience, being in the business and all that. I find that sometimes, not all the time, some people choose to distribute with multiple people, particularly because maybe they're just starting in the business and they don't know who to pick. So it's like, okay, let me put one leg here, one here, and see which one I like. So that happens. I've also seen that people who have been distributing for a long time, say 4 years and above, at least from my own insights with my side of the business at TuneCore, stick with just TuneCore. Example, let me name drop. Tinach, T.Y. Bello, Nathaniel Bassi. These are some names that use TuneCore. They've been around for a long time, and they've kept their music with us for a long time. It's up to you, gentlemen, decide what you want to do. I think it's similar to the question you asked. Some people, and it has happened a lot, will pull their catalog from somewhere else and, move to another distributor. It happens, it's nothing new. I think what the distributors are trying to look into now is a way where it's not a take down and then go and upload, but rather a transfer. I think that would be the biggest, to cause trouble, but it would make, moving from one distributor to the other. It will be tricky because what happens to your sales from, because they're also like your pockets, where if money is coming from the stores, it's dropping into that distributor and then they pay it. You tell them where to pay it out, PayPal, bank, whatever. Do you understand? So that's the one that might be a little tricky to figure out, but I know it's like a conversation that, they're having. There's plenty questions. Please make music. Okay, since you're not around, let's go. I need to be going too. Yeah. Who has the mic? Who was the last person? I have no idea where they went. All right, let's just I'll take 2 more questions and then I'll have to hold it up. Because I think there's another panel session that's meant to happen. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to know if the packages and the fee is one-time payment or you have to renew it.
So you pay once a year and have unlimited releases. So it's not, okay, I want to release this record, I pay for it. I want to use another record. That feature is available. It's still there. So if you go on the website, our website, for instance, under pricing, there's a toggle. I wish I was internet to show you, but when you come to the pricing page, this is the first thing you see the new prices, but there's a toggle right above that says pay per release. So you can transition from the unlimited to the pay per release that charges per single, per album. The only problem is if you're working with collaborators, you can only do that. You can only access splits on the new plans. But if the old plan is still there, if that would be, if that is preferred. I know. Okay. I don't know who.
Hello, so please, can I just say this?
Who's speaking, please? Is it you? Okay.
Yes. So there is this tax form that you fill for some distribution platforms. So I need to know what TuneCore, the payment is going to be like. Let's say you've paid this 29 or 49.99. So how will you get paid from them? Do you have to get like a wire transfer, or is it going to be check?
Do you want check?
I don't know.
If you have a US bank account, you can do a check, why not? But no, you can put in your bank details here.
Nigerian NGN.
No,
pay
Naira. Yeah,
Naira.
you can put in your bank. You can put your bank details and they can pay.
No 30% federal withholding rate.
So I believe there's a tax. It's a US company. There's a tax form. So there's a withholding. Not you filling it. There's a withholding tax from the US. Yeah. So that's something to consider. international distributors. It's not because here you are not paying taxes now, but typically, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. How many more questions can I take? Yeah, I can only do 2 more. I still have work.
Thank you very much.
To go back to.
Thank you very much for this. So my question is there a particular percentage each contributor should be assigned to? Let's say a record label is taking 50%, and how much should a writer take?
No, so that will be dependent on you guys. Okay. As a meeting, you would have to decide.
Okay.
Yeah, decide that. So no one can. Yeah. So it just depends. Maybe you approach a producer, you want to work with him. He can blatantly tell you straight up. Someone had a point. The guy was having. It was the standards conversation. If you are what are you? Are you a producer?
I'm a talent manager.
Okay, so let's say you're a producer, you're a songwriter. You can straight up just say, hey, if I'm doing this, I want 45%, 50%. If you're down, fine, we'll, get our lawyers involved, do the necessary collaboration agreement, split sheet, and then we get to work. So no one can tell you, really, the producer can come out and say 60%. So that's why you negotiate. So it's like markets, you have to, yeah. So one more question, and that will be it.
Okay, good day, everyone. My name is Marco. So,
Who's speaking, please? Sorry. Okay.
Okay, so my question is about publishing. Is there any other? Do we have to pay another fee for the publishing services?
Publishing is a separate business. Of course, you pay.
Okay.
So with TuneCore, I can speak about TuneCore. I'm not going to speak for any other person. So there's a 75 USD one-time payment. Okay. What that does is register you with all 100 plus PROs and CMOs, so all the performance rights organizations and the collective management organizations around the world. That's what it does. And then there's a commission, I believe it's either 15, 20% per anything collected. So remember, publishing admin will take a commission. Publisher typically may actually own the whole music and be fighting for, to end. All right, guys.
Thank you.
You guys have been a great sport. Thank you very, very much.
Smile for me.
Hi everyone, thank you very much, Ms. Chioma, for giving us this wonderful lecture. Please put your hands together again for her. I mean, you agree with me that we've had back-to-back interesting sessions today, right? Would you guys agree with me that we've had back-to-back interesting sessions? Exactly, I mean, all the people that have been here, so emotional one at that. Okay, can I get a mic, please? Can I get a mic, please? Let's have a quick chat over here. I mean, okay, so just give her the mic. Yeah, let's have a chat now. Okay, so you said it was a really emotional one.
Yes.
So tell me about it.
I mean, the way she was talking, it's like she's just putting in needles into my body. And
Miss Chioma, are you hearing? Please take your flowers, ma. So give her her flowers, please.
Yeah, so she really dealt with so many things that's been troubling my heart, and I feel like I've been a fool all the years. And
please again, put your hands together for Miss Chioma.
I have passed that stage where I'm not ignorant of anything anymore. So I think I know what I want now.
Are you an artist?
Yes, I am.
Mado.
So yeah, my name is Sheyi Mills. Z though, Z, not S.
Great.
Yes.
Does any other person have a comments from the session today? I mean, you've learned something that stuck with you. I will never forget that woman that told me about metadata till tomorrow. So I know that is one thing that I learned from today. Hi, Chief Papa.
Yeah, I've actually known about TuneCore. I don't know, she might not remember it. We did the work one time and all that. So, but coming to now understand the breaking down the royalties and everything, it has been something that's been very conscious. I've been very conscious about learning, knowing about, and coming here and.
Interesting. Please put your hands together again for this, everybody, for yourself. Please, I just want to implore you guys, if you're at the back, kindly just move forward while we wait for the guys at YouTube so that they can just easily find spaces to sit down. So just please fill up the front rows, the empty seats, so that the guys upstairs will not have a mini commotion when they are coming down. I just also want to remind you that this is the 5th edition of the Music Business Conference from Make Music Lagos. And if you want to be part of the conversation online, please use the hashtag Music Business Conference 23 and hashtag Make Music Lagos. Please, it's important that you share your thoughts, because I mean, a lot of people might underestimate the importance of information and learning new stuff, but you have taken the bold decision to be here, so it makes sense that you can also share and transfer knowledge. So next year, when they say they're having Music Business Conference, or they say 2 or 3 are gathered to learn something about music, people will take it seriously. And I mean, from that moment, you can track your progress. The day I tweeted this thing, next year, when you look at that tweet, you'll be like, oh, more, I have grown from the day I tweeted this thing. So it's really important that actually you share your thoughts via Instagram, via Twitter, anywhere.